Hi, Cail. Congrats on yet another win.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah. What did you see tonight from Emilio Pettersson?
His work ethic has always been there. I think he's just starting to feel the game more, and he's able to sort of read it a little more as to when he can use his skills in certain situations. Whereas I thought earlier in the season he was trying to force it a little bit, and now I feel like he's learning that hey, there's a long part of the game where you're going to have to just work and be responsible. And then there's going to be opportunities where you pick your spot and you go at it, and maybe you take someone on one-on-one or whatever it is. And of course, when you see the opportunity, he'll make a play. Like when he gets those offensive opportunities, he can do that. It's a matter of he's tightening up the rest of his game.
Okay, and just speaking more in general terms, huge difference in the way that the shots trended compared to the first period, the second period. Then the third period, it got sort of leveled out, and you guys were pretty tight. But what did you see in the difference between the way that your team played in the first and the second?
I thought that we tried to do too much so I'll start with the first. We started well, and we were fairly simple with the puck. We were on our toes. Our D were uptight. Our D were pinching. Our forwards were, making early decisions with the puck. So felt good period. Unfortunate to have that breakdown on the PK to tie it. And then we go into the second and early goal. But what happened, the difference was they became the team that were on their toes. They were right in our back pocket, and then they were pinching, they were recovering pucks. So it was a tale of two cities. I found, like, just sort of flipped the script, and we managed to settle it down and get back to our game in the third, but it did feel like we were under a lot of pressure in the second.
Thanks, Cail.
Over to Darren.
Cail, that back-breaking goal at the end of the first and at the start of the second is like the oldest cliche in the book, but I guess it's a cliche for a reason. It seemed to play out exactly that way, and then you were on your heels. Do you put stock in that back-breaking goals?
Yeah, the one is on the penalty kill, so I don't consider it it's not as typical as when you're 5-on-5 and you give up a late goal. So we're in a penalty kill situation, so I would look towards how do we get on that situation? And if it was a poor play to put us down, that's the backbreaker. Like, don't put us on the penalty kill with less than 2 minutes to go in the period. But I don't think so. I think Postgame made a good hard hit on the guy, and unfortunately the call didn't go his way, but I think it was a great hit. But early in the second, that's a bad one, right? That's not a good one in terms of giving that up, and it's a tough one on your team. And then, as you see, Darren, the momentum of that period carried on in their favor the whole time.
I think sometimes you've probably seen this. It's I think you always get focused on the team we're following and what they didn't do, but sometimes that's such a catalyst for the other team that they get a bit like a runaway freight train after that.
Yeah, definitely. They get that momentum. They start feeling good. We start to think about things a little much, and I think one thing I didn't answer in Mike's question about the second period is we made good early decisions with the puck in the first, but in the second we didn't. We started to try to do a little too much exiting our zone cross ice and a little too much entering their blue line, and as a result, it always felt like those broken plays were getting jammed down our throats.
Yeah. Good. Thanks.
Just a reminder, raise your hand if you have questions. Paige, go ahead.
I don't know how much you guys have been following stats as far as this season goes. I know it's kind of an unconventional season, but with you guys being at the top of the Canadian division, top 3 in the league, that sort of thing, and even some of your main scorers have been rising in the ranks in the stats as well. What do you kind of credit your recipes for success up to this point?
Well, I think that we have a strong offensive skill set on our team. I think you got to give credit to the players. They're good players. We've got some good skill. Uzika and Phillips have been leading the way. Godden's back in the mix. We've had Connor Zari has been very good, and the guys are bringing it on the back end. So I think first and foremost we have good players, and Beyond that, I think that our special teams has been really clicking. We had a little trouble here on the PK in Winnipeg, but when you've got both special teams rolling along, I think that's a real catalyst for positive outcomes in games. So those are a couple of things, like just strong offense by a group that's built for that, and good special teams.
Okay. Another question too. When you're playing games this close together, how long do you really get to reflect on the game you just finished before it's focused on to the next one?
Not very much on the day like today. We'll have penalty kill and power play presentations for the guys in each respective area. Just a quick 5-minute video, like, hey, let's make sure we watch out for this. Let's try to exploit this. And then tomorrow at an hour and a half before the game, we'll have a quick virtual meeting from myself on a 5-on-5 play, and that's it in a nutshell. Other than the odd chat with guys on some things that we can do, it's a real quick turnaround and not much time to dwell on things unless we really want to alter something of the matchup that we're in with Winnipeg.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Got time for a couple more, so we'll go Darren, then Mike.
Just quickly, Cail, this is probably more of a Pascal question, but do you have a timeline on Connor Zary?
It's coming to an end. We're sad to say. It's coming to an end. I don't know if it's going to be right away, but we know that things have to change here. So Connor's going to be on the way out pretty quick here.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Go ahead, Mike.
And I guess the last thing that I would say is, I thought Matthew Phillips tonight had sort of a slower start to the game, but he really picked it up, I thought, as it went along. And was that just a case of, the bounces were starting to go for him, or was there something that he tried, you think, to do to change it up a little bit?
I'm just thinking about that in terms of his game. I don't think there was that much difference, but Emilio jumped on the line. We switched that up a little bit. We just sort of did our left wings, and maybe that had something to do with it too. A little spark there, a little difference. And in general, Matt is he's a pretty similar from shift to shift. And I think that he's always very close. If you watch him, he's always just a stick length or an inch away from turning one over. And so it can happen at any time. It just started to turn for him there.
Totally. And just one quick little follow-up. You mentioned that you switched Pettersson up to that top line. Is that something that once Zary's gone, you might look at keeping together?
Could be, yeah. I won't marry myself to it, but at the same time, it is a good look, good energy, a guy that's gaining confidence, and two guys that are obviously brimming with confidence. So like the way it looked today, for sure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cail.
Thank you.